Hey everyone, and welcome to this, my first of two videos on the Asahi Pentax SL. The SL is a Spotmatic with no light meter. And quite honestly, in my way of thinking, if you're looking for a Spotmatic today, the SL is probably the best choice for you, just because it's a little bit lighter, a little bit simpler, strictly mechanical, no electronic components, doesn't even have a battery chamber. And if you don't need a light meter, if you can use the Sunny 16 rule or a handheld light meter, honestly, really good option. I personally love the SL. So we're going to go through this because it's a bizarre and quirky little camera and talk about it. Now also, if you learn a little bit better through reading, here's a copy of a cover of a book I made about the Spotmatic lineup of cameras. So all the Spotmatics are covered in there. Also, if you are interested, there's a link in the video's description to my Amazon author page, and you can check it out there along with the other cameras I've made, camera books that I've made. Now, Pentax SL is a 35mm interchangeable lens camera. What does that mean? It means it can take any 35mm film, and because this does not have a light meter, it literally can take any 35mm film. It doesn't care what's behind it in the inside of the camera. All that it cares about is what you dial in for the shutter speed and the aperture. And if you give it those settings that are good for that will give you a good exposure for the film you have loaded, it doesn't matter what kind of film you have. Interchangeable lens simply means that at any point when you're not taking a photo, you can remove the lens and put a different one on and your images won't be affected. Single lens reflex means that the camera has a single lens mounted on the front of it and that the light travels through the lens this way to the mirror that was behind the lens that we saw briefly, into the prism up here and out to the viewfinder eyepiece in the back. I'm going to take that off just to make this a bit easier to use. Anyway, and so you see in the viewfinder what the camera is going to take a photo of. The shutter speeds, it has no light meter as we've established already. The shutter speeds are 1/1000th of a second to as slow as 1 second and bulb. The flash sync speed is 1/60th, marked here with the X next to the sync speed. The viewfinder that we touched on very briefly has 0.88x magnification and 93% frame coverage. What does that mean? Well, first, what you're going to see here is a graphic that has two photos. One photo taken through the viewfinder and one photo taken of the space behind the shutter curtain, so you can see the exact same scene as you would see it versus as the film would see it. Now, 0.88x magnification means that what you see in the viewfinder is 80% of the size of what will be on the film. 93% frame coverage means that if you imagine that what you are seeing right now is what will be on the film, then about 3.5% on each side and 3.5% on the top and bottom will be on the film, but will not be in your viewfinder. So you have a little bit of room to crop the image after you get it back if you've maybe had a slight misalignment in your camera when you took the photo. The focusing screen in the camera that you see when you look through here or that's behind the lens is a fixed screen. You can't remove it. And it's just a simple matte focusing screen with a central micro prism area. And we'll talk about that in the second video in great length about how to use that focusing screen. And one last thing, as I noted, this is literally a Spotmatic without a light meter. Why is that important? Well, it's important because the target market for this camera was the professional photographer. Wait, what? That doesn't make any sense. This camera doesn't even have a light meter. Why would it be used for professionals? Because in the time when this was released, professionals didn't use light meters in their cameras. They would use a spot meter that was handheld or an incident light meter if they were shooting portraits, for instance, or if they were shooting reportage, like documentary type work or for the news, they would just use a very fast film and trust that the exposure would be good enough for newsprint. Professionals back then didn't need a light meter built into the camera, and that's who this was for. Also made it very reliable because you didn't have to put batteries in. You didn't have to worry about the light meter needing batteries. You could just use it like any old mechanical camera. It was also seen as, and one other thing about light meters, when this camera was first released, the Spotmatics first came out, professionals apparently tended to view light meters as gimmicky additions to cameras that were beneficial only to hobbyists. So I think That might not have been the most foresight, or at least not the most accurate foresight, because now every camera has light meters and has for a very long time. Anyway, this was made by the Asahi Optical Company in Japan, and insofar as I could tell, it was very probably only made in 1965. I could find nothing whatsoever that was conclusive that indicated it was produced in any year other than 65. Now, if you have your Pentax SL, we're going to go through what all of the things on the camera are, and we'll talk about what they are. In the second video, we'll talk about all of the things you can do with this camera so that you can go out and start using it. Here on the top of the camera, though, technically on the front, we have strap lugs. The strap lugs are connected to these split rings. If you don't have split rings, any old round split ring will work. These are just for connecting your camera strap. This dial around the film rewind release is the first thing we're going to talk about, and this is your film type reminder dial. Okay, it's going to be a little bit hard to see, but I'll try my best here. If you rotate this dial, you're going to see a bunch of different numbers. Some of them are white and some of them are orange. Okay, so the white ones were intended to indicate that you had black and white film of whatever speed in here. Okay, I think it goes from 25 up to 800. Let's find out. 25, 800, 1600 even. Yeah, 25 to 1600 is what it indicates in here, okay? So the white ones indicated black and white film. After you get, 3200? Really, I didn't, okay. 25 to 3200, an even bigger range. Okay, anyway, after you get past those black and white ones, now we're back to orange, and that goes from up to 400, okay? So 25 to 3200 for the white numbers, 20 to 400 for the orange. Orange would have indicated either tungsten balanced slide film or color film, whichever one the professional was shooting. And then white would have been an indicator of black and white film. Here's the thing, this is just an indicator. This does nothing whatsoever for the camera's function. This dial is just intended so that the photographer can remember what type of film they have loaded into the camera. That's it. This is your film rewind knob that you can use to rewind your film, and when you're done, you can use it to open up the back of the camera. Serial number, model number. Over here we have this little orange index, which is the index that indicates your shutter speed selection over here. So when you rotate the shutter speed, the orange triangle tells you what you're going to shoot at. Shutter release button right here. Ooh, that's loose. Film advance lever right here. And then there's a little indicator right here, and if it's orange, you're ready to take a photo, and if it's black, you've taken a photo and need to advance. That's what that indicator does. On the front of the camera, we have a few things. First one right here is the self timer, and the self timer is really easy to use. You simply wind it up like that. Push the button that activating it reveals, and the self timer will count down. You do not have to wind it up the whole way. You can wind it up just part way if you want, and that way you can use a shorter self timer. Also, this will work with any shutter speed except bulb. This does not work with the bulb speed. Lens mount, lens aperture connection flappy paddle right here. Flash sockets underneath these PC sockets underneath these little black plugs. I'll pull one of them off right here. You can see here it says FP and X. Those are reminders for the type of flash sync that will be triggered by each of these PC sockets. This right here is for single-use bulbs. They're called focal plane bulbs, also M or some other designations. These are really not used anymore today. If your flash has a reusable bulb in it like this one does, then you're going to be using X sync right down here. This is a Prontor Comper port, and what you need to do to connect your flash to it is get a flash PC cable that can plug into that port and then run to your flash. If you are using an X flash and you plug your PC cable into the FP port, your shutter and flash sync timing will be off, and you will not have flashes that sync with your shutter, correct? So if you have a rubber PC port plug like this, and you want to use the flash, just put that plug into the FP flash port, and that will help make sure you don't use the wrong port on accident. touched very briefly inside of the shutter on the flappy paddle here. The purpose of this flappy paddle is to shut your aperture as you take a photo. So if we look at this lens right here, it's wide open and it is set to auto. That's good. It's also set to f/16. When the lens is mounted inside of the camera, there's a little pin right here. This lines up with that flappy paddle. So when you take a picture, that flappy paddle presses that pin down and it closes the aperture like that. When the exposure is finished, the flappy paddle lets the aperture open back up. So with this Pentax SL, you can focus with the lens wide open, and as long as you have auto mode and your aperture is working correctly, the camera will close down the aperture when you go to take the photo. You can also, if your lens has an auto manual switch, or AM sometimes it's called, you can also flip that. Well, let's see if maybe the lens is going to make me mount it to a camera first. Yeah, it is. I don't know how it knows that it's mounted or not, but it's going to make me mount it. So you also, if you have the AM or auto man switch, you can flip that to manual or M setting, and then the aperture will close down as you adjust it. So you can get a depth of field preview if you want to do that with your SL as well. On the back of the camera, there's not a whole lot to see. The viewfinder up here and Asahi Optical Co, Japan. On the bottom of the camera, there's not a whole lot to see. One significant dent, a tripod socket, and the film rewind release button. So we're going to come back here and we're going to open up the back of the camera by lifting up the film rewind knob just like that. And here you can see what's inside of the camera. This is the film cassette chamber, and in video 2 I'll show you how to load film in here. These 4 guide rails are the film guide rails. What they do is the outer 2 guide rails keep the film from moving up and down, so it's properly aligned in the camera. These inner 2 guide rails work with the film pressure plate that I'll show you in just a minute to keep the film flat right here behind the shutter curtain, so that the light coming in from the lens that passes through the shutter curtain is properly focused on the film. This is your film tension sprocket right here, and it's not going to spin right now, but when I advance the film, it will spin in the direction of the take-up spool to pull the film through the camera so that it's taken up on the spool over here, okay? It also will not spin backwards unless I press the film rewind button, and now it will spin freely. So basically, the job of the film film advance sprocket right here is to pull the film out of the film cassette smoothly and keep it from being pulled back into the film cassette by the spring memory that's been built up in the plastic over however many years or months it's been sitting inside that cassette. To the right of the film tension sprocket is the film take-up spool. And so what this does is we'll plug the film in here in the second video. It gets taken up on here and as it's pulled through the camera so that fresh film can take a photo. On the back of the camera, we have the film pressure plate right here. And then this rests right up here against the camera to keep the film flat and have light properly focused on it. We have something called a cassette retaining spring. This presses the film cassette into the proper alignment over here in the film cassette chamber so that film can exit and then be rewound onto the cassette smoothly. I do have some tips for you on how to use your Pentax SL and get the most out of it. The first one is going to be get a light meter that you're happy with. Whether it's a spot meter that you can use for very precise spot meter calculations, or just a handheld light meter from the 50s to 70s or whatever that takes scene meter calculations. Those are both fine. A smartphone light meter will also work just fine. And you're going to use that anytime you want to get a light meter reading with this camera. The second tip I've got for you is that because it doesn't have a light meter, you can use literally, like I said at the very beginning, any speed of film. Do you want to use Lomography's Phantom A8, which is an 8 ISO film, or shoot it at 6 ISO? A lot of cameras with light meters don't go that slow. This is ideal for that because you can just dial in whatever shutter speed and aperture you want. Heck, there are 1.5 ISO films on the market right now that are basically just respooled Kodak 2383 and other internegative films. But at any rate, a 1.5 ISO film will work beautifully in this camera because you don't have a light meter to worry about. When I say beautifully, I mean it will work very well if you can dial in the settings and always carry a tripod with you, because even in full sun 1.5 ISO, that's really slow. And lastly, in the Spotmatic lineup, this is the simplest, most streamlined, cleanest shooting experience you're going to get. In fact, this is my favorite Spotmatic camera. And it's absolutely delightful and lovely to use. It has all the features you need and none of the stuff that you don't need on it. So, a couple of things not to do with your camera. Don't leave your camera with the shutter ready to fire. Always trigger the shutter when you're done for the day. And the reason is because this is a purely mechanical camera. Anytime you advance the film and arm the shutter, you're putting tension on some springs inside of the camera's body. Well, if they sit for, especially this camera now, this was made in 1965, it's 2024 as I record this. This is a camera that's staring down its 401k balance and sweating, So it's old enough to retire, and those springs are now that old as well, which means that if you leave them under pressure for weeks or months or even a year or so on end, they could fatigue and break, which will brick your shutter, or at least become very weak and throw off your shutter timing. So always trigger the shutter when you're not using this. It is way cheaper to waste a single frame of film in this camera than to replace the shutter. Next up, don't actually touch the shutter curtains. We saw them when the camera back was open. Don't touch them because you can damage them. They're old and they're getting brittle. You don't want to do that. Also, the mirror that's behind the lens, don't touch that. Your finger oils can tarnish the mirror and that can make it hard to focus your camera. Don't let your SL get wet because it's not weather sealed and it is all metal inside, and metal rusts when it gets wet. You don't want that. Don't leave it in your car because, look, it's a good looking camera. It's a theft target. But even if it isn't stolen, extreme heat inside of a car can cause lubricating oils in the lens and the camera to get very thin, and then they get to places they shouldn't be. On lenses, that's specifically the aperture. And when they get back to their correct viscosity, then they can screw up how things work and mess up your camera's operation. Likewise, if you leave it in your car over the winter, the extreme cold can cause those lubricating oils to break down and become really thick and gummy. You don't want that at all. Don't store your Pentax SL in a plastic bag or box. Plastic is moisture permeable, and it is easier for it to get into that plastic and then get onto these elements than to leave that plastic. Once moisture gets onto the elements, it can cause mold to grow on the camera lenses, which can impair your image quality. It can also cause mildew to grow in the camera covering, which is not great when you hold it up to your nose. Just remember that your Pentax SL is a precision tool that should be handled with care and respect, and as long as you take care of your camera will take care of you. And now, if you are interested in learning more about how to use your camera in detail, here's a card that will take you to the second video in this series, and you can learn all of the operational aspects of your Pentax SL. Hey everyone, if that video was helpful, check out this other video that might be helpful too.